more about teaching the nature of things than it is about making you buy into some particular end game. But this is interesting. I have to ponder this some more. That's an interesting way to put it that I have to think about. I mean, Rothschilds literally bought the whole country. Which country? All of them? They went out to the shop. Went out to the shop with a credit card. Oh, Israel. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, right. Well, I find, without some sort of nugget of information that I'm not privy to, or without buying into Israeli propaganda, I don't really see Israel as worthy of American alliance. I don't think that they have our interests in mind the way that we have theirs in mind. I don't think that's a reciprocal relationship. And I'm personally an American exceptionist. No disrespect to Canada. No disrespect to UK, Australia. No disrespect to all my friends. I see the story of America as being more important and bigger than any one moment. I'm not, I'm America, bro. That's, you know what I mean? I'm on board. Yes, the Jews are pretty explicit about saying they're chosen, but at least they don't try to convert people, which I like about them. Well, do they try to convert people? Because people do convert. But isn't it interesting how low of a percentage of the world population is Jewish? If you look up the major religions in the world, number one is Christianity at about 28%, right? After that is Islam at like 24. And then after that is like fucking Hinduism. Like Jews ain't even in the top 5. Judaism's not even in the top 5 as far as like, doing the numbers, They're not even in the top 5. Those are rookie numbers. You got to push those numbers up. If you are promised it, then why discuss where to establish it before choosing Palestine? Therefore, I see that Europe is contradictory. It claims to support Palestine's right to have a state, while most of these Jews were gathered from Europe because Europe fears them and is tired of their violence. Oh, Europe is in a very tough spot, sir. They're in a very tough spot. Here's the thing. Genocide is bad. I don't agree with genociding anybody, But at the same time, what can I do about it? Wow, that's weird. That was auto-modded. Yeah, hey, I didn't know that you saw that. There's been a couple of auto-mods and, like I was talking to you about earlier, Bogos, I'm not a censorship kind of guy. I don't really fuck with that. I mainly have the bot here to kick out other bots that just spam links and shit. So it's funny that it's auto-modding words. Jews don't believe in heaven. Okay, so it wasn't that part. Oh, don't believe in heaven. So that's another reason why I think it's a better ideology than Christianity. Really? You think that that's a better ideology? They don't convert people because Judaism is unique, because they have bloodline. They value bloodlines. Their texts say that only the Jewish people have divine souls and non-Jews have animal souls. If you aren't Goyim, yeah. If you aren't genetically Jewish, you will always have animal soul, even if you convert. Interesting. Yes, these Jews have European nationalities. Yes, the ones in Israel, yes. So they won't have a problem because their countries are in Europe. Yeah, I don't believe in heaven. It's just a tool to control people with. Well, that depends on what you believe heaven is. You know what I mean? But yes, I agree that religion is used to control people, but I don't think the fact that it's used to control people discredits everything that it posits. All religions are wrong, in my opinion, but some are worse than others with their real-world outcomes. I think, for me, the jury is out on that one. Because there's definitely something deeper going on. So I can't write religion off. I'm not like a pure science mind where science is my religion. You know, I am a bit spiritual. I don't subscribe necessarily to any faith as you might understand it, but I fuck with what Jesus was saying. And it does make sense to me that there would be a God. That does make sense. I could also see there not being a God, but then what is this? All random shit? Could be. Islam is the worst in my opinion, based on how Islamic societies have developed and used religion. I don't like Islam as a religion. I don't fuck with that. But also, I've known people that were Muslim that were totally fine people that I didn't know well enough to say, oh, you're evil, or oh, this person's so good. I am a Muslim, so okay. Religion is not the problem. I could say that all the terrible things about religion, but most of them are because someone was extreme or had a bad concept. Okay. Razor, I don't mean any disrespect. You know, I don't have a problem with Muslims. I don't like that religion because I don't like the holy text, and I don't think a lot of it makes sense to my good common sense. No disrespect. I would expect that you might feel the same way about the things I believe. So I don't mean that disrespectfully. You know, I don't fuck with the idea of not being allowed to draw Muhammad, though. I don't like that. You know what I mean? If I could draw at all, I would draw that motherfucker just to say, come get me. I mean, Israel is literally running eugenics programs. When the Ethiopian Jews moved to Israel, everyone was forced to take medicine. Surprise, surprise. Their birth rate crashed and they can't get kids. Hey, Shabbos, is there some of these ideas that you're sending out there? Can you like post like well, I wouldn't say post a link because I don't want you to get auto modded. But if you could like direct message me, I'm interested in understanding where you're getting this information from, because it's not the first time that I've heard these things, but this is clearly outside of the mainstream and tough information to find. So if you have any interesting sources that you think would be a good primer to be able to understand where you're coming from a little bit better, or the context surrounding your disposition here, I'm totally on board with checking that out. I have Muslim friends, but they're not fundamentalists. Yeah, and that's the thing. Hey, look, I know Christians that are wacky, and I know non-religious people that are the height of morality. You know what I mean? I don't think that religion is necessarily what makes or breaks a person. You know, and I think that we should all be looking for truth in a way that makes sense to us and makes sense of the mystery of life. If your truth leads you to Islam, that's your path. What can I say to you? You know what I mean? But that's not where my path has taken me thus far. Life is long. We'll see. You know, but I don't like that they got all those pretty women all done up in the robes and shit, bro. But when you look at the worst examples of each religion, some are much worse. Yeah, when you look at the worst examples, but look at some of the best examples. You know, you remember during the Crusades, Salahuddin showed great mercy to the Christians. You know what I mean? And you can't say he wasn't Muslim. It's kind of hard to post sources because they are heavily censored. Seen websites that have sources and all literally get banned from using Visa, MasterCard, Stripe. Yeah, there's definitely an information war at work. You know, definitely. I can totally understand that one. Well, I'll do some digging around and see what I can find. You know, because I'm like I said earlier in the program before you guys were here, I'm looking for truth wherever that takes me. I'm interested in understanding the big mystery, the deeper shit that's going on. You know, so I'm information doesn't turn me off. I am interested in all the information to help contextualize all these things, and at the very least understand where other people are coming from, whether I agree with it or not. The Epstein files revealed eugenics programs for Epstein, Ben Gurion, ex-Israeli PM, the Rothschilds, and the Wexlers. Basically, the powerful use Israel as their seat of power. Interesting. I have not seen that. I'm talking about in 2026. Centuries ago, we were all barbaric. But when certain cultures are still acting the same as they did centuries ago, because that's when their holy books came from and promote those beliefs, then that should be condemned. Well, I don't know, because that last line that you're saying there would condemn the Amish. And I don't find a problem with the Amish. You know? You know what I'm saying? I do. They're fucking How do you not fuck with the Amish, bro? What are you talking about, hypocrites? Orthodox Christians are cool too. They use tons of technology. Do they? Because when I was in Lancaster and I pulled my camera out, I thought they were going to jump me. Anti-Zionist Jews got to be my favorite gender. That is one of the new genders, isn't it, Schmurder? I see these fuckers with cell phones on their belts acting like they're holier than... Yo, y'all got Amish in Canada, bro? Are you kidding? The banking clan started around 1500s when the Dutch allowed central banking, and really fast they crashed all the other banks because Jews have this practice to pull money. Hold on a second. 1500s when the Dutch... Jews have this practice to pull money. I can totally understand... Not as much as Pennsylvania, but yeah, that's crazy they made their way up there, bro. Schmurder cracking up. Yep, and continued it on in 1913 on Jekyll Island, Georgia, resulting in the creation of the Fed. Okay, so the banking clan started around the 1500s when the Dutch allowed central banking. Okay, and really fast, they crashed all the other banks because Jews have this practice of money. So are you saying that this was the Jews in Holland, that Dutch Jews that instituted a central bank? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, the Dutch started the downfall. The fucking Dutch, bro. I don't fault the Jews for getting into banking. Yeah, no, sure. I mean... Here's the thing is this. You can't fault people for advocating for their best interests unless it is really, unless they're subjugating somebody else's interests, right? Because my rights end where your rights begin, right? So like, yeah, if you're just like predisposed to math and finance, go for it. You know what I mean? I don't have any problem with that. But if you use those skills to manipulate things in your favor at the detriment, at the severe detriment of others, then maybe that's something that should start getting looked at. No such thing as free money. You want a loan, you pay interest, you cheap bastard. I'm going to tell my kids that. Usury, yep. Even Napoleon got screwed over by the Jews because Napoleon managed to pay all France's debts. He pissed off the clans, and they funded the whole war against him. Huh. Sure, I'll loan a friend money and not charge interest, but some stranger comes asks for a loan. You're going to have to pay me for me to part with my cats. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have any problem with charging interest on loans. You know what I mean? I think that, fair and agreeable business practices between private parties is fine. You know, but if you're in the shadows working and colluding with others to subjugate populations, then there's a problem, right? Because I believe in an objective good and objective evil. Now, not everything is eligible for one category or the other. There's a lot of nuance on some of the things, you know, but subjugating populations, just what? So you can live in a higher status than them that's when I would have to start looking at that circumstance to determine is this evil, because it looks enough like evil that I would have to start questioning it. The Merchant of Venice is about usury. Old Bill Shakespeare knew what he was talking about. It's the excess interest that is the problem. Yeah, excess interest is a problem. I agree with you. That's fucked up.